Hey, this is Matt Wenning at WenningStrength.com, and today we're going to go over how to train when you have a manual labor job. Now, I know that that's kind of an off topic for what we normally talk about, but I run into people all the time that work in construction or automotive and all those things, and hey, how would you modify this? How would you modify that? Well, let's get into it. So over the past few weeks or almost month and a half now, I've been working on my 1970 Charger RT. Now with this work, I've been taking out the 440 Magnum big block and I'm putting in a Hellcat engine. Now if you don't know what all that stuff is, go watch the video that's on YouTube. But basically we're taking a badass muscle car and we're making it a supercharged demon. So what we're doing with that is I'm doing a lot of the labor. So if you notice in the videos, it's not set up for just camera. I'm literally pulling the engine. I'm literally putting all the parts in. I'm literally bolting everything in. The point is that I started to really open my eyes to the mechanical labor that a lot of the people that I talk to or ask questions do, right? So if you're a mechanic or you work with drywall or your construction or any of those types of things, you're going to have a different level of energy when you get done than the average person. So there's a couple of key factors that I would put into my particular wheelhouse or my life or my environment that would allow me to train better. Step one, I would personally, no matter how early you have to be at work, I would train before I go to work. Why? Because you're not going to be sore and tired at the end of the day. For a lot of people, they get done with work at say 4 or 5 o'clock. That's when Rapid Customs closed. Those guys they're whipped. I mean, they've been moving around heavy pieces. They've been bending in weird angles, using all kinds of different tools, a lot of cognitive energy. The point is that if you go in and work out in the morning, that's before all that happens, number one. Number two, I usually go work on the car after I work out. Now, what that does is it loosens me up. I feel better. I feel like woken up and ready to go. And then when I go work on the car, I'm better. So if it were me and that was my full-time job, I would get up early and train in the morning before all that sets in. So that's tip number one. Tip number two, I would try to focus most of my exercises in a traction-based environment. What does that mean? Well, squats and deadlifts and all those types of things are great, and you can put them in your program fairly consistent. But what you have to start realizing is that a lot of your accessory work and a lot of the other things that you do need to be traction-based. And what does that mean? Well, that means that traction actually pulls the spine apart, whereas compressive movements actually push the spine together. So what are some exercises that we could do? Well, one, if I had a manual labor job, I would do reverse hypers at least every 3 days. Two, the next exercise I would do is 45-degree back extensions. Now, that may look like the similar exercise, but trust me, it hits those areas in a slightly different way. You're starting to get my point. Those are two kind of deadlift-style traction variations that could either come before or after the deadlift to traction the spine, either before or after work. The next thing that I would try to find or make myself would be a belt squat. Why? You can get a lot of glute, hamstring, a little bit of lower back, and quadricep activation without putting any adverse pressure on your spine. Why is this important? Well, one, you're probably going to want to work out for longer than 6 months or a couple of years. Two, most of us are not in our prime anymore, right? I mean, most of the guys that message me now are 35 to 55. The point is that squatting is great for you, but only in the right environment. Meaning that if you use belt squats, you're going to be able to do more volume, more intensity, more often, therefore have more muscle activation. Now I'm going to show you a skim of a paper that shows you that in the legs and some of the glutes and lower back, you're still getting quite a bit amount of good activation in those muscle tissues without actually getting any adverse spinal compression. This is super important, especially again if you have a manual labor job and you're on your feet all day. Most of the stuff you're doing is already compressive. So think traction when you work out and you're going to last longer and feel better. Three, if you're working a manual labor job, you need to plan your meals, right? So you need to get up in the morning and right before you work out, prep all your meals, or go on Stan Efferding's Vertical Diet website and download or get his meals delivered to you if you don't have the time or the patience. They come out to like, I want to say $6 to $8 a meal. And trust me, I know that most of you guys, if you go out and eat fast food, you can burn $8 like that. It hardly even buys a fast food meal anymore. So the point is that what I find the huge issue with manual labor is they're not prepping their food, they're not getting in enough protein, they're not getting in enough salt and hydration, and at the end of the day, it leaves them tired and not wanting to work out or not recovering. So those are the three things that I think are huge for manual labor jobs, right? We have get up early and do the workout before you go to work so you don't have the set-in stress and tiredness, which I think is coming from number 3. Number 2, base a lot of your exercises on traction-based movements because you're in a more compressive state than the average person. Doesn't mean you can't use squats and deadlifts, just be sparing with them and use them only as necessary to get better. And number 3, make sure you plan your meals, right? We need optimal proteins, fats, and carbs throughout the day. And if you're a manual labor job, I would recommend you probably try to eat every 2 to 3 hours. Why? You're burning more calories than the average person. You're on your feet, you're moving heavy equipment, you're moving stuff, and you're busy all day. So the point is, if you hit those 3 things and you're a manual labor job, you're probably going to see way better results. You're going to gain more muscle, even in a situation that most people would think was detrimental. So I hope this helps. If you need more guidance or advice, join the Patreon channel. We can kind of help you look at your workouts, or you can even see some of the sample workouts. I'm actually writing them now on there for 2 days a week for guys that I train that are in the diesel and mechanic shop at Reichert Automotive. So we only train them twice a week, and we're seeing some great results. The other thing is, check out the nutrition manual and also look at the other manuals on the website.